Hey, well, thanks so much, and thank you for having me. And to everyone who's watching, thanks for being here. Really do appreciate it. I try to keep these as conversational as possible. So if you have any questions at any point along the way, just do let me know. Like I said, things are pretty informal. And with that, let me see if I can share screen. Fair warning, I'm never really good at this. And ignore how many tabs I have open. I work 5 part-time jobs, 65 hours a week, which we'll talk about. So rest assured, there's a method to my madness, but things, they may look disorganized, but they are kind of organized. Anywho, so I am here in Washington, D.C. right now. We actually got a crazy storm yesterday, and I'm kind of mad because I had predicted the best weather near and south and east of us, and we wound up getting one cell of pop just to our west, produced a downburst that actually gave me 65 to 70 mile per hour winds here in Alexandria, just south of D.C., which was pretty impressive. But that's a picture I took from my rooftop right when I first got to D.C. I'd been searching for apartments that were on the 10th floor or higher and faced westwards, and that's what I wound up with. So those windows over there, they look westwards. There's a school right next door, so nothing blocking my view of the sky. And then obviously I have everything weather themed in here. Anywho, so where we're going today, who I am, we're going to talk about my journey towards becoming a meteorologist and then kind of navigating the job market. I feel like oftentimes when people talk about their career journey, they talk about the destination, but never really getting there. And I'm still not yet where I want to be. I'm where I'd like to be for 23, but definitely not where I'm going long term. We got to talk about knowing your worth. That's something that the industry as a whole struggles with, that people don't teach you how to do, and that social media reinforces in a negative way. We'll talk about where the industry is at today, and finally, being a good science communicator. So I think I shared sound. If you can't hear this, do let me know. But this will underscore the fact I've been at this for a very long time.
Guys, it's really a black sky up there. It's really a black sky. Dad, I got another lightning strike. It was a pink one.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. We have a special announcement today from our resident meteorologist.
Good morning. It looks like a beautiful day for field day. There may be some troubles around Boston, but around here it's looking pretty good. Check with you live from the office. And remember, any day is a good day for field. See you, Mr. Fells here.
So clearly, I've been at this for a very long time. I love what I do. I've always loved weather, and it's been pretty much my path nonstop since the start. I came down to DC back when I was 13 or 14 for weather camp, which is a real thing, believe it or not. All the cool kids go, which that is a picture of me in my element. I was wearing flip-flops, so it was okay. But yeah, that's at Howard University, just off the Green Line in DC. And I loved DC so much that I kept the same Metro card ever since. And I said, I have to live here someday. And sure enough, here I am. While I was there, I met a lot of really nice people. It was my first time kind of geeking out with other people who love the weather, which was an incredibly valuable experience because prior to that, I was just a nerd. And here, within the group of 12 other nerds, I was kind of popular, and that had never happened before. So I was ecstatic. Anytime there were storms, we all run outside. It was the absolute best. So it was nice to be around people who shared my same passion. And it made me really look forward to going to college where I'd be around other people, or so I thought, be around other people who also shared a love of atmospheric sciences and meteorology. While I was there, I learned what the AMS was. And about a year later, when I was 14, I gave my presentation at the American Meteorological Society's broadcast conference in Nashville, Tennessee, back in 2013. I'm actually getting text from one of the organizers of this. But in any case, it was so much fun. And it was kind of funny because when I got there, nobody would really look at me. They assumed that I was, like an intern or something, or that I was just, this weird high school kid who had showed up and wanted to learn weather. And then I got up there and I talked about outflow boundaries and water spout prediction nomogram, and talked about, lapse rates and a bunch of stuff like this that was actual meteorology. And at the end, I think I kind of earned their respect. And since then, I've been going back year after year ever since. And I met so many great people, made so many good connections. But it was from that, finally, kind of taking a risk and seeing if I could do it and show people sort of what I knew, but also learning from the other people there, that really helped me to create a ton of connections that to this day have led to some of my best friends within the industry. I got to meet this guy, Harvey Leonard, the chief at CVB in Boston. He's Channel 5 up there. And it's funny, nicest guy in the whole world. My legs still shake whenever we talk, even on the phone. And I got a lot of nice people who wrote in nice things, like down on the left right there. AMS posted it too. And that led to many other things. So from there, I started trying to market myself, do more things like that, go to more conferences, meet more people. apply for scholarships. And then it came time to apply for college too. Now, while I was in high school, it was no doubt ever that I wanted to apply for meteorology, but I also knew that, college costs a lot of money. So I wound up applying for about 65 scholarships and got, I'm trying to remember, 96,000 in just cash, and then a bunch that would go to the school. And that was enough to really help my college choice. And then, yeah, while I was down, I won the Coca-Cola scholarship. I got to go down to Atlanta. And you know what else is in Atlanta is the Weather Channel. So I got to go down there. That was a blast. And I met a lot of nice people there. And I said, I'll be back someday. And I was. Anywho, around that same time back in high school, I started trying to figure out how I could market myself better. So that's when I decided to start writing newspaper articles for my little small town newspaper, just to establish myself as a local expert. I was 14, 15 was when I first got paid for it. I wrote things like Hurricane Sandy. They seem to like it. And it's a really small town newspaper. Plymouth, Massachusetts, the Old Colony Memorial gets about 2,500 readers a week, if that. But I figured if I could do that, for a couple months or a year or two, I'd hopefully get enough readership that I could move to another paper and kind of build my way up. And it worked because I had applied for, my goodness, 60, 70, 80 different newspapers trying to see if they would take my articles for free, mind you. Like I was giving them free content. It was damn good content. Nobody would take them except this one newspaper finally did. And that one newspaper, the Old Colony Memorial, let me publish stuff with them a couple times a month. I had a column called Eye to the Sky back in high school. And I assumed that nobody read my articles because it was a small town paper. Now, at that time, like I said, I thought no one read my articles. I opened up the paper one day and there was a letter to the editor that said, "Hats off to Matthew Cappucci." I was like, oh, well, that's a nice name for a letter. I wonder what it says. And I read it. And it was from this guy who said he really liked my article on the 75th anniversary of the Great Hurricane of 1938. He really liked it. He, wrote this whole paragraph over here. Hats off to Matthew Cappucci, wonderful career, meteorologist, science writing, whatever he's about to do, blah, blah, blah. This was back in 2013. It was a super nice letter. And so I wound up reaching out to him, sending a thank you note. We had a brief exchange, and that was that. I was 14, didn't think too much of it. And so here's my note back to him. I unfortunately called him Mr. Heller instead of Dr. Heller. To this day, I'm still embarrassed about that, but thank you for the kind comments. They were greatly appreciated. Blah, 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 blah. Tiny exchange. That was September of 2013. But keep a contact book. And also, I see a little one over there. Hang on. Sometimes Zoom is weird, so I can't see the chat. I'm just making sure there are no questions yet. If there are, let's see. Yeah, if there are questions, do let me know. Oh, Antonio's in Italy. Very cool. I am extremely jealous. I wish I was in Italy right now. Anywho, okay. Sorry, whenever I see the little one pop up, I always wonder. But keep a contact book for everyone you meet because you never know when someone might resurface. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a few minutes. So colleges, I knew I wanted to be a broadcast meteorologist, but I also knew I needed a backup plan. Most people my age, I'm only 23, they don't watch the weather. It's a known fact. We all know that TV news is in a kind of rough state right now where the old people are still hanging on. The middle-aged folks are kind of iffy sometimes. The young folks, they get their news from TikTok, BuzzFeed, or whatever else the kids do these days. So I wanted a backup plan. I didn't want a big school feel, but I wanted to go as far away as possible. I'm from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I wanted to live in a city. So I had tough decisions. These were kind of my two options. Cornell, an Ivy League school, great meteorology program, and I knew that would lead to kind of a backup plan too because it was an Ivy. And you could do broadcasting with the local school, which was Ithaca, or Linden, great school, but 99.4% acceptance rate. So I knew that it might not be as transferable degree-wise if I was to do a different major, or rather do a different career path down the road. And small school feel, I love the feel, but both were pricey as hell. I'm not paying $37,250 a year for school, and I'm certainly not paying $26,000 a year for school, and that's after in-state tuition. Couldn't do it. Now, I got a little creative because Cornell had announced in 2010 that it would accept or it would price match other Ivy League schools. Now, I started couponing when I was 5. My mother taught me very well. And I love that show, Extreme Couponers. I'm not that good, but I know when to, use the Walmart price match guarantee. And this was the time. Use the Walmart price match guarantee. I applied to Harvard. I knew if I got in that I'd only pay $8,500 a year. And so I got in. But honestly, I only applied for the price match, and I applied because I wanted to get my cousins to shut up. They're anywho, they still think I'm dumb. But I applied to all three. And then it was kind of the waiting period. Now, in March of my senior year, I get a call one day from a number I don't recognize. I'm in the middle of tutoring. I'm busy working for a family, and my phone rings. And this was back when I had a little flip phone, no caller ID. And this was back when I had my flip phone. I used to think that text messages were like emails or like letters. So when I texted my friends, and mind you, this is like senior year of high school. This is only about 5 or 6 years ago. I thought they were like letters. So I'd start off, dear Cooper, Joey, Aaron, Hunter, I'm writing to see if y'all would like to go to lunch tomorrow. But anyway, I've since learned how to actually text. I do use proper grammar though. My sister does not. I always need like the dictionary to figure out what she means. Anywho, I got this phone call from a number I didn't recognize, so I ignored it. I'm in the middle of tutoring, trying to be professional, and then it rings again, and it rings a third time, and like I'm getting kind of annoyed. And the people for whom I'm tutoring are starting to notice. And finally, it rings a fourth time. And I say, "Who are you? What do you want? Why the hell do you keep calling me? I don't want your damn solar panels. Leave me alone." And I hung up. So about an hour later, that same phone number called, and I picked it up. Said, "What?" "Yes, sir. My name is Haley Shaw from the Harvard University Admissions Department, calling to schedule your interview." "Hi, Haley." And I explained the situation, but it turns out she wasn't only the person scheduling the interview. She drove down from Boston to my high school on Cape Cod the next day to interview me. And so if you don't recognize a number and somebody calls you 4 times in an hour, don't always assume it's a telemarketer. I've been getting a lot of spam calls lately, and we still laugh about that, but be very careful. I've since learned. So then I got into all three. Cornell price matched, and then it was decision time. So Cornell, I knew, long, tough winters. It was kind of a remote area, large class field. For a lot of folks, that's a great thing. For me, I'm kind of shy, which I know is tough to believe, but it just didn't feel quite right. Linden felt like home, but it accepted everybody. And some of the stats weren't in its favor in terms of, hey, if meteorology doesn't work out, how's this degree going to look? Versus Harvard, decent school, decently respected. People have been telling me, oh, it's your golden ticket, but they didn't have meteorology. Plus, I do love Boston. So Cornell, Harvard, same price. Linden, different price. So I didn't know what to do. So I said bye, Felicia, to Cornell because it just didn't feel right. I think I'm funny. And then I started thinking, I really wanted to go to Linden, but I knew that I could not, if I changed my mind, I could go from Harvard to Linden easily, but I couldn't go from Linden to Harvard. And so between that and the prices, it seemed like Harvard was kind of a no-brainer. Plus, with Harvard, I had so much left over in scholarships that I could do some creative financing that would allow me to storm chase, get camera gear, do this, do that, study abroad, do pretty much whatever I wanted to do. It just seemed like a no-brainer. And I also heard that at Harvard, on very rare occasions, you can do a special concentration and cross-enroll at MIT. So basically make your own major. It only happens maybe once per year with one student per year, very rare, but I knew it was an option. And also I see the little 2 again, so that means a couple of folks have asked questions. So, wow, we have someone here from Trinidad. Josh, so good to have you. Thanks so much for being here. Ronald says he likes astrophotography too. Very cool, from Rhode Island. Well, that's awesome. All right, so I'm gonna share screen again. And like I said, any questions at any time, do let me know. I'll stop periodically. But yeah, okay. So anyway, I wound up going to Harvard, and I hated my first couple weeks. Some of the kids were pretty preppy, pretty snooty. I was not. I'm still not snooty. Like, I'm not smart enough to be snooty. And I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, it didn't feel right. And there was no meteorology program. It felt very strange. And the second or third week, I had a midterm exam for physics. And they emailed us the time, the place. It was in the Jefferson Laboratories. I didn't know that it had been canceled. And so here I am, like, looking around for this test that I can't find. I had no idea that it wasn't actually happening. So I'm looking for this exam. It's like 10 a.m. or the exam's at 10 a.m. I'm there at like 9:45 looking. 9:45 becomes 9:55 becomes 10:05. And if you're more than like 10 minutes late, they don't let you in to take the exam and you get a 0. So I'm frantically panicking around. And the way they designed this labyrinthic building was ridiculous. Apparently physicists can't count. They had room like 212 next to 313 below 104. Like, it was idiotic. I don't know what the physicists were thinking, but I couldn't find it. Didn't know it had been canceled. And so I'm on the verge of tears because I'm like, I'm about to flunk my first college exam because I can't find it. And finally, at 10:15, I realized, I've failed this test, and I panic and I don't know what to do. So finally, I just, I was so overwhelmed between being there, not having meteorology, not fitting in there, that I just kind of slumped down on the floor and the second floor, and just kind of sat my head against the wall and just got all teary. And I was like, well, I give up. And yeah, I started to cry a little. And with that, I see a little golden nameplate on a door across the hallway. And I look, and it says Eric J. Heller. I'm like, wait a second. Is that the same Eric J. Heller from 4 years ago? And I knocked on the door, and it turns out it was. And so this same random connection from 4 years prior, who happened to live in my hometown, wrote a note about liking my article, turned out to be an awarded and decorated physicist and chemist at Harvard. And I knocked on the door. He remembered me right away. I remembered him. We started talking about what the special concentration would take. And just very informally, like I didn't think too much of it. And it turns out it was a 40-page application. You got to have signatures from 6 officials, 8 essays. And we're talking about this. And he said, so you want to be a meteorologist? How's that going to happen here? And I said, well, my special concentration is the only option. But you need an advisor for that. And I'd been there for 3 weeks. Where the heck would I find an advisor? And we're talking about that. And he said, do you need an advisor? I said, yeah, I don't know where I'll find one. And he said, you just did. So this random connection from 4 years prior took a risk on me to help me create this first atmospheric sciences undergrad at Harvard. And I knew that'd be an incredible workload for him, but he made it happen. And we both made it happen. So I wrote this 40-page application. I dotted my I's, I crossed my T's, I did everything I was supposed to. Got all the recommendation letters, went to submit it, and for the first time ever, we got a rebuttal. So one of the things you have to do to get a special concentration is have the closest department sign off and say, we support him. And that would be Earth and Planetary Sciences. Earth and Planetary Sciences refused to do that. So we had one guy, I'm not going to say what his name was, but we'll call him Dr. Meanie Pants, who was the head of the department. He told me when I asked him that I was too young to know what I wanted to do, and as a result, I should do undergraduate in EPS, Earth and Planetary Sciences, and do grad school down the road in atmospheric sciences if I still liked it. And so that was what he wrote. And so I submitted my concentration with a rebuttal. So not only was this the first and ever atmospheric sciences undergraduate there, it was the first time that someone had overturned or managed to get a special concentration without the support of the closest department, which was incredibly unusual. I had to plan out my schedule for 4 years in advance. Everything blue is part of my major. Everything yellow is a gen ed. Green was the one semester or one block I had open my senior year. And this is not how it looked at the end. I wound up doing 6, 7, 8 classes per semester, doubling up. I would take classes at 2 different campuses. I'd go to MIT 3 days a week. There was one semester where on Thursdays from 1 to 2 p.m., I had to be in 3 different classes at 2 different schools and make an appearance. And I did. There are times I didn't have time to eat. There are times I'd be up until 3 a.m. But if you love something, you'll find a way to do it. And I made it happen. But it's not just classes. You have to use your resources. I created so many petition forms that didn't even exist before. Like, I was petitioning for new petition forms. But over the course of 4 years, I discovered so many resources that nobody else knew was a thing. For example, Harvard has a state-of-the-art green screen studio. It's like $4 million studio rather, that nobody even really knows about, and it's open for students to use. And so I went there to practice my green screen stuff. Of course, I didn't have a whatchamacallit. I didn't have rather graphics other than PowerPoint. I didn't have anything, and it wasn't going anywhere, but it was just practice for me. I do that once a week, which at most broadcast schools you wouldn't get to do. Oh, look, it's little young me. You know, sophomore, junior year. But yeah, so that was cool. The rooftop. I got myself a key to the rooftop. Oh, that was back when I had glasses. I've since had LASIK. Yeah, the freshman 15 was not good for me. But yeah, I got the key to the roof, and I was up there all the time. Because it's thunderstorm.
Sweet! Look at that! Thunder snow!
So not sure if y'all noticed, but I like thunder snow. And then my sophomore year, Jason Semino at the Washington Post reached out and said, "Hey, we see that you write. Would you like to write for us?" I said, "Sure." So it was going to start as like a once a month thing. Like I'd write something periodically. And so I submitted an article, but this was July after my sophomore year. And I had some extra time. I was working a lot that summer, but I was only working like 40, 50 hours a week. So I figured I had some more time. I could do some writing. And I had to commute to work via train. So I had time to write on the train. Worked out super well. And so I just kept submitting pitches and he kept saying, "Yeah, sure, do it, do it, do it." And so I just wrote all these articles within like 3 weeks time because we had the eclipse. This was August 21st, 2017. Then we had Harvey, Irma, Maria. It was crazy. So they needed content. And I kind of came in at the right time. And that piece on Hurricane Harvey, about 9 trillion gallons of water, got, gosh, something like 2 million reads. Like to this day, that was probably my best article. But it kind of made me navigate a fine balancing act, and that I had to be confident in the knowledge I possessed and confident in communicating it, even though I was younger than everybody else there. But I also had to be respectful and humble. So let's talk more about kind of these resources I tried to pull together during my undergrad. So in sophomore year, I took Physics 12B, which was electricity and magnetism. It turns out the guy who was our lab demonstrator, who his job was just to kind of create lab demos. He wasn't the professor, but it turns out he had a PhD in atmospheric electrodynamics, i.e. lightning research, and worked at the Boston Museum of Science as the lightning guy for a while. And whenever I found this out, I said, "Hey, would you be interested in teaching me a one-on-one course?" And so he did. So he taught me this one-person class on lightning that was for a credit. Thunder snow is in the title, so technically I'm the only meteorologist out there to have taken a course in thunder snow. But it worked out so well. And I wrote an article about him. He's a really cool guy, Daniel Davis, just amazing fellow. My senior year, I took satellite and radar meteorology, which so in my special concentration, I made 25% of this class storm chasing, which meant because it was technically for credit, even though it was like a quarter of a credit, because storm chasing was now for credit, I could use outside funds, i.e. my money from Coca-Cola, Access Insurance, a couple other scholarships to go storm chasing. And CBS News paid for the equipment. So that's what I did. There's Ridgie, my truck. He has a hail cage on him. I got so many cool things. This was, I think, this was really neat. This was a day when a wildfire broke the cap in Clarendon, Texas. We weren't supposed to have storms that day, but the wildfire obviously broke the cap, produced this supercell thunderstorm made out of smoke. That's why the sky is all kind of brown and tingy. Purple lightning, it was wild, but the best mammatus that to this day I've ever seen. I skipped my graduation because, I didn't want to walk with a bunch of snooty kids in a cap and gown. I went out to, where did I fly to? Oh yeah, so I'll tell you briefly, my final week of my senior year, it was Sunday through Wednesday. Sunday, I gave the keynote speech at an event in Boston. I did another speech that evening elsewhere. In between, I was working on a final project. I had 2 final projects the next day. Then Tuesday morning at 3 a.m., I got up, Ubered to the train station, went down to New York City, had an interview all day on Wall Street, got back at like 11 o'clock at night, started another thing for MIT, finished that at 3 in the morning, woke up the next morning, Wednesday, my final day at 5 a.m., had my last classes, and I was taking class with Kerry Emanuel at MIT, who was incredible at the time. The final paper was due that night. I still hadn't started. I knew what I was going to do, but I left Harvard at 3 in the afternoon, Uber to the airport, hopped a flight to Oklahoma City with a friend of mine, and I typed 4,200 words in 3.5 hours. And I turned it in at 10:54 Central Time, so 11:54 Eastern Time. That was my final undergrad assignment. The next day, I booked it up to Nebraska and got my graduation naders. So there's a nice tornado. That's, I think, May 28, 2019, near Linwood, Kansas. That's an EF4 that is completely rain wrapped. There's it starting. Here's another one. That was a high risk day. Look at that little baby nader. It's so cute. Tiny baby nader. Nice mammatus behind a storm. Oh yeah, make sure there isn't hair on your lens. I kind of messed that up. Here's that day. Yeah, so this was near McCook, Nebraska. I had no cell service at this point. Like I got to my initiation place, no cell service. So I said to my friend, we're going to listen to the radio. If we get a tornado warning, we're going to bail east. Otherwise, we'll sit here and get hail. Got the tornado warning, bailed east, got in position for the good structure. Then I just did everything visually. So there you see the downdraft on the right, updraft on the left, whole thing spinning. Here's the clear slot wrapping in. You can just see, obviously, like it's the clear slot's wrapping in, tightening the circulation, gets tighter, tighter, tighter. Look at that little funnel, and then produce a beautiful Wizard of Oz tornado, kind of like the Uvalde, Kansas 1985 one. And we had another one near Culbertson, Nebraska. I was getting pelted by giant hail at that point. A couple days later, got a little tiny baby LP supercell. Look at that thing, it's adorable. Oh, this past year, I'm sorry, back in 2020, I got quite the storm near Bellevue, Texas, that wound up producing this wall cloud. This was nothing on radar. Like this was LP at the time, but this eventually became HP, dropped a tornado, and I wound up inside an EF1, which was amazing because it was completely rain wrapped at night. I got a haboob. That was fun. Got the eclipse in Chile in 2019. Last year's I flew down for, got an atmospheric river that socked it in beneath cloud cover. I cried. That was a fun one. Here's a little LP. Here's a hail core. Isn't that pretty how you can just be in and out of the hail? Here's another LP. Nice pancake stacked. Oops, let me go back one. Another LP. That's a pretty one. This one dropped 6-inch hail on Burke Burnett, Texas last year. And this was beautiful hail fog in South Dakota. South Dakota is beautiful. Anywho, so that's all past couple years. But if you're in school, I want to kind of assuage your fears because senior year will be a stressful time. No way to kind of get around that. And it was for me too, because everybody else, literally every last friend of mine was getting a job. I had friends who were in atmospheric sciences at MIT. They were all going to grad school. Like no one quit after undergrad, and quitting after undergrad is not quitting. It's getting into the workforce. That's why you get trained. Some people do academia. I want to be in the workforce. So there's nothing wrong with that. But so many of my friends were all either tech people or economics people. And so they went into either consulting or what else do economics people do or tech people? Or yeah, they went to like Google, Microsoft consulting, literally all my friends. And they started at like $130,000. And then here's me. And they've all been recruited since like December of senior year because that's how it works at Harvard. And then here's me. It's May. I go storm chasing. I still don't have a job. Don't panic. It will seem like everybody around you is getting a job before you. Here's what I had when I graduated, offer-wise. Portland, Maine, at New Center, Maine, would have been $40,000 a year for full-time. Presque Isle, Maine, would have been $11.50 an hour. I'd make $12 an hour after I've been there 6 months. Monroe, Louisiana, $31,500 a year, and it would have been a 3-year contract. Not that there's anything wrong with Monroe, Louisiana, but if I'm going to wrestle alligators and live in a bayou, I need more money than that. Oklahoma City, $44,000 a year. That would have been kind of fun, but it was at the 4th station in a 3-station market. Bakersfield, California, $29,500 a year, which California, $29,500 a year. The news director there seemed very nice, too nice. And in a 15-minute phone call about the job, not only did she offer me the job, which was fine, but she somehow worked goats, windmills, marijuana, and disco into the conversation. So it would have been an interesting employment had I gone there with very interesting people. For all of them, I said no deal. I knew I was worth more. However, I was considering not doing meteorology. Like I had my Met degree, but Wall Street had offered me $97,000. I could have done 90 starting at a consulting firm, but I would have been miserable. And I can still go into consulting anytime. But I said no because happiness matters. The Post called up and said, hey, you graduated. We don't have a position, but we'll make one if you want to join us. Do you want to come down? And I said, sure. And I was playing the long game. Now, realistically, when you graduate with a Met degree, you're worth $40,000 to $55,000 if you graduate with a BS in atmospheric sciences. But the inability of other employers to not recognize or reward your worth does not change your worth. Just because somebody else doesn't know your value doesn't mean that you should change your value to reflect their ignorance. That's going to be the same with employment. If somebody says, hey, we'll give you $29,000, you're not worth $29,000. You're worth a hell of a lot more. Demand it or else walk. And if enough people do that, TV, intro jobs across the board will change. They'll be forced to. They won't be able to hire anyone. And that'll be the case in many other industries too. Don't be afraid to negotiate up. Sometimes you got to be a little bit feisty, not only in this business, but in any business. So it was either that or versus, but here's what you're worth. Weather service, when you start, you might get $35,000 to $42,000, but you will climb quickly, but it's tough to get entry-level positions. TV, you'll make 25 to 37. Negotiate. Private sector, 35 to 50. I have friends who make 35 to 40, but they work, gosh, 50, 60 hours a week. Research, it varies, but you need to have a long-term plan too. But demand your worth and don't be shy. The Post offered me 60. I said, and literally the conversation went like this. Thank you, I really appreciate that. Call me when you can do 65. Have a good day. And I was very respectful, but I knew that living in DC would cost a lot of money. I knew what I was worth. I knew what my peers would be making with a degree from Harvard. And, I knew I'm damn good. And so they called back 15 minutes later and offered me 65. And don't be afraid to be pushy. Like 15 minutes for $5,000. That's heck, 15 minutes could earn you 15% or more on a job. Do it. Be feisty. Don't let anyone, and still, that's less than I probably should have been making, but still, don't let anyone ever lowball you. Screw age. Age is just a number. It is just a number. If they were to say to me, hey, we're going to pay you a certain amount, but we're going to pay you whatever because of your weight, that would not fly. Like, people would think, hey, that's insane. They're paying you based on your weight. But if people pay you based on your age, suddenly that flies. Now, the Post has been great. They paid me what I've been worth. For the most part, they've been phenomenal. But a lot of employers won't do that. They will cite your age. Not a chance in hell you should go along with that. Because if it wouldn't fly for your weight, then it's not going to fly with your age because they're both just numbers. Experience and ability speak way louder. Now, if somebody says to you, you're just starting out, that's BS. You're a scientist with a degree. Demand what you deserve. If somebody says to you, you're young, reply with, you're wrinkly. We don't pay you less. If they say, we can't afford blah, blah, blah to pay you more, well, then they damn well can't afford a meteorologist. I took this job in 1986 and I was paid blah, blah, blah. What do you freaking do? Have they heard of inflation? And this is inveterate across the entire industry. Know your worth, demand your worth. I'm really fortunate because the Post, they kind of gave me the best of both worlds. They let me storm chase, let me go out in the field. They are also flexible hour-wise. And Jason, pictured here, the best boss in the entire world. Like, you cannot find a better boss, a better mentor, and just genuinely a better person. Like, he is very filial. He's a good teacher. I could not find a complaint about him if I tried. Like, he is the best human being to possibly run a weather department. And he created his following from scratch. Like, he created Capital Weather Gang, which has over 1 million followers from nothing. And in the course of 8, 9, 10 years, he's, as one person, rivaling AccuWeather, rivaling theweather.com, rivaling all these other people who have hundreds of employees. So he's kind of in a league of his own in terms of what he does. But the Post lets me storm chase. They let me do a lot of things. But I also knew, like, obviously my dream has always been broadcasting. Since I was a little kid, you saw my demo reel when I was 7. I've always wanted to be on camera, and I've wanted to do more than just the 7-day forecast. I want to educate, inform, and inspire. And so even with the Washington Post, I knew that video was arguably one of the best ways to do so. And I still believe it is. Articles are great. And I've written some great articles. I did 952 articles since I started there full time. I got 60 million reads, but I always wanted to do more. And part of what appealed with the Post was that they had such a large online presence. I thought maybe I could be kind of the online meteorologist of tomorrow. And I wanted to make sure that I could do that by the time I turned 24, which will be in a couple weeks. Always have long-term plans, always play kind of the long game. So my 5-year plan was to do that by whatever time. So I started broadcasting from home. I do stuff for BBC News. I do stuff from CTV News. I would literally do evening news live here from my desk. And here's my setup right here. I archived all those on demo reels. And it was part of my long-term plan because I wanted to make sure that video-wise, if I couldn't do video at the Post, which I love the Post. There's a lot of bureaucracy behind the scenes that has inhibited sort of the ability to do video for a lot of folks, including myself. They're getting better with time, but I wasn't going to wait. Like, I gave them 2 years. And if I couldn't rise opportunity-wise to do video, then I had to explore something else. Just remember, you don't work for your company, you work at your company. I worked at the Washington Post, and I still do, but I knew I wanted to do video, and I knew that I'm good at what I do. And so I hatched a plan while I was working there that I would either climb internally or externally or both. And so that's why, while I was there, I decided to bring a camera to every single place I went and make my own Very strange demo reel. Maya wants to know, do I ever take folks storm chasing? Yes, I do. And I've taken a lot of non-meteorologists too. So this is kind of my weird demo reel that over the past 2 years I've made while working at the Post, because I knew that if I could differentiate myself from all other applicants for a job through a reel like this, something had to stick.
The Sahara is one of the largest deserts in the world, and thanks to climate change, it's getting even bigger. These are the salt flats in Uyuni, Bolivia, stretching more than 100 miles. Cappucci, we have a big-time tornado here passing just to our south. Moving south, we're near something called the Triple Point, where dry air, moist air, cold air, they all meet. And that's what you're seeing right here. Again, now, the funnel is passing east. We have a bit of a rear flank downdraft, cold air on the backside of the circulation, wrapping around, tightening that tornado behind me. This is tornado number 2, but there could be more in the life cycle of this impressive storm. Cappucci, destructive tornado on the ground right now over there. We're approaching from the rear. Alrighty, gang, I'm Capital Weather Meteorologist Cappucci. A lot of people have asked why we get a green sky sometimes before a tornado. It has nothing to do with the tornado, has to do with hail. So downdraft over there, sky very green. A lot of folks try to pull over, understandably so. I'm gonna try to get closer, but man, look at that. Look at this, the most amazing Matt's display you can ever see. All these pouches in the backside with parting severe thunderstorms that produce tornadoes off to the east, but all across the sky. Over here, we have something kind of like transverse waves. What happens? The updraft goes up, spreads out east. You get those lines in the sky in addition to the amazing pouches. But look up. Ready, guys, tornado on the ground, right over here. That entire thing is just spinning like crazy. Side down, search and rescue ongoing at this point. Authorities have blocked off roads and they're limiting traffic into the area. Hun vehicle lifted up and thrown. We don't know how far it was thrown. And good morning, gang, from a bone-chilling Minneapolis, Minnesota, where the temperature right now is 26 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. Large tornado on the ground, north of McCook. Good hail falling all around us. It's moving northeast. Big debris cloud. You can see it's really picking up debris. Right now, I see stars. Star up there. It's completely dark. Oh my gosh, I'm taking... At the edge of the Amazon rainforest in the Yungas jungle here in Bolivia. Oh, wow. Perfect timing. Alrighty, guys, meteorologist Cappucci. You've had aerial crawlers across the sky here in southwest Texas. Weather meteorologist Cappucci, look at this supercell. This is what a rotating thunderstorm looks like, and you can see this thing is basically a mothership across the entire sky. Everybody in Bowie, you got to be in shelter right now. Lowest floor, whatever building you're in, and avoid windows. Alrighty, guys, we're getting winds of 100 miles per hour. We have debris flying by right now. We are likely in it. And hi, gang, Capital Weather Meteorologist Cappucci, southeast.
Let's see, what else here? Obviously, big hail, Nome, Alaska, blah, blah, blah. Oh, here was inside a hurricane last year, during Hurricane Laura.
Cappucci in the Center for Severe Weather Research's Doppler on Wheels, a mobile Doppler radar unit. You can see we're getting sustained winds of 90 miles per hour with gusts to 111. Again, conditions pretty rough right now. Things will get worse before they get better. Guys, look at this. This is the corona of the sun's atmosphere. You can see it hanging above the...
And it just goes on. Oh, here's a fun part. Y'all will appreciate this.
Oh man, softball size hail coming down, guys. We have softball size hail. Oh! Whoops. Thunderstorms all around. It's cool right now, about 60 degrees. This volcano here along the Chilean border is due to what's known as a subduction zone. When all that oceanic plate goes underneath the ground and melts, the magma has to go somewhere. These hot springs look warm and cuddly, but don't let them fool you. I kind of melted my sneaker a little. Have you ever wondered what makes a volcano?
Oh, here's me in the Arctic.
Very covered by that old ice. Nowadays, thanks to climate change.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing. Take any opportunities given to you, especially if somebody else is footing the bill. I volunteered to go on an Arctic research cruise and help count plankton. And I know nothing about counting plankton, but I got to go to the Arctic in the middle of nowhere, a place I would never otherwise get to go. Yeah. So it's also about kind of branding too. You really want to be able to rock social media. It's way more important than LinkedIn. Because social media, you reach so many more people, especially if you're going in a field that, like mine, is kind of like a, you have to get the public on board. You want to build a following and you want to brand yourself too. Like I You don't want to try to imitate someone else. I'm not going to be Reed Timmer. I'm not going to be, the chief meteorologist or whatever. I'm my own weird thing. And I'm quirky, but I'm fun. And I provide outside weather explainers, and I break down heavy, complex, serious science, and I know my stuff inside and out, but in a way that the public can understand. Even if sometimes that means oversimplifying things, I want to educate, inform, and inspire. But building your brand, you want to make sure that you can be both trusted and human. On the bottom right, you'll see something I tweeted last night. I schedule one funny tweet for every evening, something light beat, something that will make me accessible and seem like a real person. But I also can go on air and deliver a tornado warning and analyze where the tornado is, what it's doing, what the spectrum width says, what, really help keep people safe and be trusted in doing so. So it's a balance. Another thing, no matter what you do, every positive comment you get, archive it. Archive, archive, archive. Everything is a testimonial. Archive all your feedback and comments. I got over 1,000 nice comments in the past 2 years from people who have written in saying how much they love my coverage, how much they love my radio stuff, how much they whatever. And I saved that because recently I applied for Fox 5 in DC. That is a top TV market. I have no real TV experience, or had no TV experience. And I said, screw it. I know I'm good at what I do. I might not be the best on air, but I'm fun, I'm passionate, I know my stuff probably better than any other of the other applicants, and DC knows me. That, with my social media presence, with my background, and with the weird but unique style I have, got me the job. But when they were trying to decide whether or not to hire me, I handed them a booklet of those 1,000 comments, and I said, here are 1,000 reasons to hire me. Because ultimately, I'm not trying to impress you both, I'm trying to impress your viewers, and that's what will impress you. And that worked. Another thing school teaches you, they teach you math, physics, they teach you how to function on 2 hours of sleep. They teach you atmospheric dynamics. They don't teach you forecasting. And you might take forecasting classes. They teach you how to forecast from a textbook. They don't teach you how to forecast in real life. And sometimes I do, but until you do it every single day, that's when you become intimate with the weather, and that's when you become the best forecaster. When you chase in the field, you become the best forecaster. They don't teach you broadcasting. You might take a broadcast course, you might take a journalism course. They teach you public speaking. Broadcasting is entirely different because broadcasting classes all make the same mistake. They try to teach you how to be professional on camera, how to sound like you know what you're talking about. Screw that. They need to teach you how to be you on camera, because if you go on camera and you try to be something else, viewers are going to see right through that. You need to learn how to be yourself on camera. That's the most important thing. I'm quirky, I'm fun, I'm atypical, and I might not be the most polished public speaker. I'm pretty good, but I'm not the most polished, but I'm human. And yet I'm conveying my message in a way that people can understand. And that's key for succeeding in any television market. Now, I've only been there for a month so far. People, knock on wood, seem to like me. I love it. It is a blast. Be yourself, which it sounds cliche, but if you turn on the TV, you can tell immediately who's fake and who's a real person. And that's the beauty of Fox 5 here in DC. Everybody's real people. Schools don't teach you negotiation. Schools teach you complacency. They teach you, oh, you're going to get a job offer, accept it, great job, yay. No, push back a little bit. If they want you, they want you. They're going to be willing to spend a little extra money. And if they're not willing to spend the extra money, that means they don't value you as much as they should. School doesn't teach you social media, the good, the bad, the ugly. They don't teach you how to gain a following. They don't teach you how to maintain your following. They don't teach you what does well, what doesn't. You have to experiment. I've managed to really do well on social media. They don't teach you what to do when you get haters. There are some folks out there who are not so nice. We've seen them on social media. We've seen them before. There are folks who, if you publish an article that has inconvenient truths that they don't like, they're going to go after you. There are things like that that are inevitable. School doesn't teach you how to handle social media. It's something that you have to get better with time. Everyone makes mistakes on social media too. You get better with it with time. Social media doesn't teach you how to make the best, or rather, school doesn't teach you how to make the best job applications. They teach you how to make the typical job application. If there's a pile of 50 job applications and they all look the same, you're not going to stick out. If yours looks a little different, maybe has a candy bar staple to it. I've literally turned in a job application with a candy bar staple to it. Might not always work, but they're going to remember you. Making opportunities. School doesn't teach you how to do that. You have to keep pushing. Every time y'all see me doing something, odds are I've thought about a year in advance, 2 years in advance. I have balls in my court right now that, or balls up in the air right now that I'm planning for 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road. I've been working on trying to secure a book deal. I have another job offer that just came in yesterday for something that I might consider in the next year or two. So there are always things that I have kind of working behind the scenes that nobody knows about. Same is going to be the case with you guys. Always be trying to push for more, not in a greedy way, but push for more opportunity, push to be the best self you can. It might mean it's a grind. I work 65 hours a week right now, working 5 different jobs. I am always a little behind on sleep, but it's worth it. And networking doesn't teach you networking. Here's where I am now. I love Fox 5. It is just an amazing team. And it's crazy to think that like they're letting someone with no real TV experience come in and do this. And frankly, like do a decent job.
Secondary line of showers. The bulk of the activity has already pushed off to our east. Still, though, some pretty heavy storms down by the Rappahannock region. Lots of lightning down there, but we don't have to worry about those. On temperature map right now, you can see pretty well where the storms have already come through. 78 degrees in DC right now, 81 off to our west, 85 though up in Culpeper. Similar temperatures in Winchester. It's still pretty mild out there, and that could fuel an additional storm. And I think the Futurecast is starting to pick up on that. Again, here you see right here that secondary vacuum on the cold front. So I think most of us are probably done, but not everybody tonight. So
Here's my debut. It's
I
raining.
make my money doing weather, and I spend it doing weather. I went skydiving a few weeks ago. I chased 7 tornadoes this year. I flew beneath the northern lights earlier this year, and weather is my biggest passion. So I'm
Did
so
my
glad to
tornado
be
videos. We talked about tornado videos on air.
chasing in Selden, Kansas a few weeks ago. I got up close and personal with the tornado. I wound up breaking part of my door.
Yeah, so it is nerdy as heck,
I
but
thought it was a great
that's who I am. Oh, except the first time I looked at the wrong camera. There you see, they changed cameras. But this is my first day on air. I've learned many things in even just a month of broadcasting. Not all have to do with weather.
Hey, talk to me.
We're all saying the same thing.
I just want someone to watch meteor showers with. We'll have a look outside
Oh no, play.
over Gaithers. Oh, Annapolis. I'm sorry. We'll have a look over Annapolis right now. Shows.
Matthew, here's what you do. Find you a young lady.
Why does this keep happening?
We'll have a look outside over Gaithers. Oh, Annapolis. I'm sorry. We'll have a look over Annapolis right now. Shows.
Matthew, here's what you do. Find you a young lady that you're attracted to. Tell her you want to just be her friend.
Okay.
And then wait it out, and then eventually you'll win.
She already knows you don't want to be just friends.
One of these. I should be taking notes on this morning show. I'm learning so many new things. We're going to be really warm today. Temperatures around 93 in D.C., 91 in Quantico. Mid-90s areas off to the west as well. A little drier out there, but humid.
School also doesn't teach you how to react on live TV in a top market when the anchors start handing out dating advice. But just remember, what does the public want? They want to feel smart. They want a human connection. They want to be represented. They want to learn, and they want to be entertained. So ask yourself, are they going to give a damn about something you say? If you're not excited to share it, whether it be TV, newspaper, radio, then they're not going to be excited to hear it. Be truthful and be passionate, because if you share your passion, you will spark a passion in them. And lastly, never lose your sense of adventure. I work 65 hours a week, yet somehow I still find the time to travel. I went to Alaska back in March with a friend of mine. We were both too young to rent a car, so we rented a U-Haul van, drove around looking for the northern lights, and I finally got them on the way home. I chased tornadoes all in May. There are some, and I'll show you a couple more, and then we'll turn it over for questions. But yeah, never lose your sense of adventure. So many people, including my parents, wait to travel their entire lives or wait to do the things they want to do because they're always waiting for someday. There will always be a more convenient time to go. There will always be an easier time to do something. People wait so long for someday that someday never happens. You run out of time. Make every day your someday. Do something new. Do something exciting. Life is short. Jason Nader. Here's a fun one. That's an anticyclonic supercell, a left split that was moving northwards. I dove south of it. I was one of the only people in the storm when it first produced. But here's that beautiful textbook storm. You can see the entire rotating updraft tornado, obviously on the bottom right there. But that thing was amazing. Got some nice hail the next day. Little wimpy noodle. And then, oh, here was Selden, Kansas. You can see on the bottom right, I was late to the tornado, or the first part of the tornado. But then I pulled up right behind it. And my goodness, that was something to be about 1,000 feet away from something that big and potent. It was feisty. Behind it, skies are amazing. funnel cloud. Not really, obviously, but yeah, the next day, 10 o'clock in the morning. Never thought I'd see that at 10 a.m. It was wild. Beautiful LP supercell that afternoon. Look at that thing. I was the only one out in those fields out there. Everybody else stayed in the paved roads. I drove my truck on the dirt road and let that thing pass right over me. It was amazing. It still wasn't severe warm despite dropping lime-sized hail on me for like a half hour. But yeah, with that, I will open up for any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, compliments, critiques, or criticisms. And thank you for being an audience and for listening. Hopefully y'all got something out of it, and hopefully I didn't ramble and yammer too much. Who has questions? Josh wants to know, when is the next webinar with you being host? That is a very good question. I don't know. If they'll take me back, I'll come back and talk anytime.
We are more than happy to have you whenever you'd like to join us. We're so grateful you could take the time today.
Thanks.
This is an amazing amount of great advice for folks to hear, and I think it'll be well received.
Definitely unconventional advice, but hopefully it helped. Let's see. How many times have you had to change the glass in my pickup truck? 3 times, David. Now I have a hail cage. Ronald, thank you for your kind comments. Cindy, yeah, definitely. And honestly, I wish I had somebody who gave me this advice, because a lot of the advice, especially like Harvard's a decent school, a lot of the advice there is all about pursuing money. And Harvard picks kids who are smart. Smart kids are a dime a dozen. They need to start picking kids who are passionate. And that's the biggest thing that I wish that people valued more in general, passion. People value smarts way over passion. There are a lot of meteorologists out there who I'm sure are smarter than me, but not many who are more passionate, and not many who are as effective at kind of marketing themselves. Other questions. What's my favorite museum in DC? Maya, great question. I am a STEM person, yet for some reason I love the National Art Gallery. I don't know why. I love going and overanalyzing the types of clouds and paintings. I was joking about that with someone at the Post, and then it became a video where they filmed me with an art critic, and we went around and he explained the history and I overanalyzed all the clouds and the weather and the paintings. It was on the homepage. It did extremely well. More than 1 million people saw it. So apparently it's weird. David wants to know, is the atmospheric science program still going? Nope, that was just a one-time thing with just me. If somebody else wants to do it, the road's kind of paved. They probably can. They'd have to petition for it, but it was me and I left. Who else do we have? Bueller. Well, one last thing I'll add. It's always is if there's a conventional path, just because something hasn't been done doesn't mean it can't be done. One of the chief meteorologists at a neighboring station here in DC actually sent me a note once and said, you complain about wanting to do broadcasts, yet you're not willing to take one of the offers you've gotten. Mind you, all the offers I've gotten were less than 30,000. And he wrote quite literally, that shows you're not willing to put in the work. Now we compete in the same time slot. He's obviously a different channel, but
We did have just one other question, if you don't mind, about your highlight reel that you showed us and who was filming you. So do you have a friend that travels with you, or do you find new people to engage while you're out in the field and ask them to film you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it was a variety of different people. This past time was one of my friends who I met in DC, who kind of my adventure buddy. Like, he'll travel anywhere with me. It's nice because he has a job that is also mobile too. And as a result, like, I can say, hey, want to go to Alaska? He'll be like, sure, let's go to Alaska. Same thing with storm chasing. And so I have very patient friends who will hold the camera, and yeah, got a great demo reel with nothing but an iPhone and a friend of mine from town who is not a meteorologist. But yeah. Maya wants to know, have I ever met Jim Cantori? Yes. Actually, I interned at the Weather Channel, so I'd see Jim pretty much all the time. He's a super nice guy. Also, funny story. Let me see if I can find, I got to see if I can find the tweet. I will look very quickly. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen one more time real quick. So I was covering Hurricane Laura, and I was down in Louisiana. I worked 48 hours out of 54 hours. Got 6 hours of sleep in over 2.5 days. Just working, doing TV hits, radio, writing a cajillion Washington Post articles, doing everything. Got back to the airport, went to turn in the rental car so I could fly home, and like nobody was at the airport. I go to get on the shuttle, and there's only one other person on the shuttle, and I look, and there's just a backpack on the shelf thing for the shuttle, and it says Weather Channel on it, and I turn, and I'm like, Cantori? It's like, Cappucci. And yeah, Cantori was the only other person on the shuttle. So yeah, strange things happen sometimes, but I hope to be the Cantori of my generation. Time will tell. Any other questions, I guess?
Jim would like to know what is the ultimate market that you would like to work in?
Oh, national, definitely national. I'd like my own Netflix show. There are 206 different TV markets. Most people have to start in 100 to 200, then they work up to like 50 to 100, then they work up from there. I'm really weird in that I'm in market 7. I don't know how the heck that happened, but it worked, and it seems to be going well so far, knock on wood. We're moving to a new studio in the coming weeks, which will be exciting. But yeah, I hope to go national, and I'm hoping market 7 to 23 is a good precursor to that. We'll see.
Well, fantastic. We'll look out for that Netflix special too, and the series. Can't wait for that.
Thanks. Part of my 5-year plan. I'm hoping by the time I'm 27.
Fantastic.
David, I would love to do a weather show with Ginger Z. That would be fun. She's amazing. She's another person. She got an incredibly young start. She was in Chicago in her mid-20s.
Wow. That would be an incredibly dynamic duo.
That would be fun. Let's see. Do I know what's in medium rare secret sauce? Based on my waistline and what it's done recently, I'd say probably butter or something fatty. That's one thing. Now that I have to be on air, I'm trying to exercise so I can make sure I always fit into my slim fit suit. It's challenging. And I started reading serving sizes for things. My goodness, the serving size is 3 Oreos. That's just cruel. Why?
Serving size. You can never look at the serving size.
No, my goodness. It's horrible. That's one thing. It is very humbling to see yourself in high definition on 15. It's like going to the gym. I go to the gym because I don't like how I look from different angles. And then meanwhile, you go to the gym, they have mirrors on all 4 different sides. I don't want to see what I look like from 90 degrees, 270, 180, acute, obtuse. It's horrible. And let's see, any other questions? I know that I know we're probably running low on time, right?
Yeah, we're just about at 4 o'clock here. So we've gone the hour you promised us. I don't want to trespass on your time. We really appreciate you squeezing us into your schedule though, and sharing all of your videos and amazing stories with us.
Anytime. It's been a pleasure. And then thank you again so much for having me. And thanks to everyone who tuned in. Much appreciated.
Yep. Thanks so much, everybody. This will be available on demand for Weatherband members. So come check us out at amsweatherband.org. We'd love to see you over there. And you can continue the conversation in the community as well. So thanks again, Matthew. So appreciate this. And thank you all for coming.